Hello everyone. So what we're going to do here is we're going to take a look at what's involved in doing Foley for video. I've got a scene here from Cine Study. Let's start. So here we've got page flip. She's hearing something. Movement on the bed. Book closing. We need music, footsteps. We can hear the director there. We gotta cut that out. Got a nice tackle.
You, sir, are under arrest for violating the Civil Stalking Protection Order.
God!
Yeah.
Give me the hand. God! Police brutality! Police
You ain't
brutality!
seen nothing.
God!
So that's what we have. That's the scene that that we're taking a look at today, and the production sound actually for the voices is very good. Sometimes what happens with a short film, when you're filming, you'll have sounds like a generator or cars passing by, or it's just too noisy to be able to use the performances on set. And then what you need to do is you need to bring your actors into the studio and have them go over the lines and record them in studio in sync with their performance. That's called ADR, or automatic dialogue replacement. Thankfully, we won't need to do that. The little bit of dialogue that was captured is really nice and clean. It's quite usable. We've got quite a bit of production sound that we can reuse in there. So let's start with this segment here at the beginning. I've already marked them out as to where the scene's cut. So I'm just going to grab this section here, and we're going to loop through it and take a look. So you can hear we've got like an annoying buzzing sound, probably from an AC unit or something. It's not very pleasant. We'll want to cover that or replace it. Here we've got, she flips a page. The microphone didn't capture that. There's motion on the bed, her hand rubbing, the book closing. That's it for that segment. Let's take a look at the next one. So we've got a little bit of environmental sound, but it won't be loud enough once we add in the rest of our sound effects and the music. So we'll have to enhance that. But that's about it for that bit. Let's go back to this segment here. Footstep getting off the bed, maybe hands touching the windowsill. That's about it. Nothing much there. Like I said, this is a rather simple scene. Alright. Okay. We got that, the music. Cut out the director. That tackle's pretty good, but we'll need to enhance it. There's no impact on the ground from them landing and the equipment falling on the ground. We need to add that. Back to the girl. Nothing really to be done here other than bedroom environmental sounds and so on. So let's get to the next scene.
You, sir, are under arrest for violating the Civil Stalking Protection Order.
God!
Yeah. You, sir, are under arrest for violating the Civil Stalking Protection Order.
Nothing much to add there other than environmentals. That's quite good. The performance is good. We've got a little bit of clinking of metal, which adds some weight to the scene.
Yeah.
Maybe a footstep here as she backs away, but it's so close to the cut that I don't think we'd even notice it. Alright. Let's move forward. Just going to bring this down. Select the last bit here.
Give me the hand. God! Police brutality! Police
So you'll notice he doesn't actually close the handcuffs. They probably didn't want to accidentally be stuck with somebody stuck in handcuffs, or maybe they don't have the key. I don't know. but we'll need to add a clink, 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 clink. I didn't add that in my first pass. I missed that, which is why you should really re-listen to things. So we'll add that later. But other than that, most of those production sounds are good. We got some good sounds of leather. We've got good clinking from the handcuffs, other than them not closing. There's no hitting or anything, so we don't need to add any body hits or anything like that.
Please
You ain't seen
brutality.
nothing.
Ah!
We could maybe add a hit here, but it's a push more than a hit.
Please
You ain't seen
brutality.
nothing.
Ah! God.
And that's it. Yeah, so that's our scene. So first thing we're going to do is we're going to add some of the more subtle sounds. So I'm going to start off with the book flip, the motion on the bed as she moves, closing the book, and yeah, let's start with that. So that's what covers most of this here. Now, these sound really loud because they're outside of the mix. They'll have to be mixed. They'll be mixed in with more environmental sounds and so on, the music from outside the window and all of that. So we've got that done. Next, a bit further off here in this segment here, she gets up and takes a step. So I added one footstep barefoot on wood. Oops, let's actually go to that section. Right there, thump. I didn't bother adding any the hands touching the windowsill. It's not, she's very gentle about it. Another thing we did is, as she gets up here, I also added the movement of her hand on the blanket because she rubs it forward, as you'll see here. Right there, you see? She moves her hand against, so I added like hand on cloth. Alright. Now let's add in the radio coming in from outside. So this, you'll notice the volume goes up and down because half the scene are indoors and the other scenes are outdoors, further away from the, this is further away from the radio, and it's through a window, and then we're right next to it, back inside, back outside. The soundtrack is actually one of the, I think, like 7,000 music tracks that I've purchased over the years. There you go. So we've got like this nice little love song going. Now, the next part here is radio face down, is what I called it. So I continued the song, but I muffled the sound to make it sound like it's actually on the ground, like the speakers are facing into the earth and it's being muffled. So let's go and take a look and see what that sounds like.
You, sir, are under arrest for violating the civil stalking.
So, for some odd reason, I added the screeching sound of like a record being scratched, just to kind of sell that this is being interrupted. But I accidentally added it to the track that has the book flip, so which is why we're hearing it now. That should really have been on its own. Actually, let's move it to its own track. Let's do that now. We're going to insert a new track. And we're just going to grab that and bring it down. Boop. It's on its own track now. I'm going to call it interrupted. We're going to mute it and bring that back down right about here. Oops, no, not there. There you go. Perfect. That should have been on its own track from the start. All right. Now, one of the reasons you want to do this on different tracks is there's a couple different ways that you can hand out your files to your client. One of them is a mix down track, so it's basically everything down to left-right audio, stereo sound. The other thing is what's called stems, which is each one of those tracks, each one of those layers is exported out as its own sound file. So that way, if the client needs to do adjustments in post, they decide to shorten up a scene or something like that, they don't necessarily have to come back to you for that one change, especially if they're on a time crunch. They can, in their editor, they can bring in the sounds and just make the slight adjustments that are needed. So let's take a look and listen to that now. So here. Now, I could have...
You, sir, are under arrest for violating the civil stalking protection order.
So you see, it sounds as if the speakers are being muffled by something, because I cut out a lot of the high frequencies, high and mids, and just left the bassy tones in.
You, sir, are under arrest for violating the civil stalking protection order.
God!
And there we go. So that's that situation. Now, first thing we're going to do here is we're going to go and we're going to lift this one up. So in this track here, what I then ended up doing, it's right about here. The arrival of the officer is kind of abrupt, which could be good for comedy, but you also want to foreshadow it a bit, maybe. And that's what I did with this. So what I ended up doing is running footsteps leading up to the tackle. Right? So you're going, okay, something's happening, something's coming. All right. The next bit is we get like a nice impact sound. It's not very, right now the sound that's right there is not very impactful. It's very dainty. Let's go over here. See, there's a little bit of an impact, but it doesn't sound meaty. It doesn't sound like he really went in full blast and just like tackled the crap out of him. Like if you listen to some football practice and stuff like that, you can hear like it's somewhat soft bodies hitting another somewhat soft body. A soft body as in muscle mass and so on, instead of granite and wood. So you get that meaty thumpy sound. So we've got like a horror sound here, which is a body drop onto the ground. We're going to use that. I see like a good tackle sound. Actually, it's a little bit off time. And with it too, I've got, I think, another sound of... Yeah, I've got on that same track, I also have a sound of them falling off on the ground right after that. Let's get in there just a little bit more. Yeah, right there. I was off a little bit. So, thump, and on the grass. There you go. Next is our interrupted sound for comedic effect. Here, I'm just gonna select this bit. Maybe bring it up a little bit. There we go. Let's try that. It's a little too loud. It's overwhelming my thump. There you go. That's much better. All right. Next, basically the radio falling on the ground. There we go. And that's pretty much the entire scene. I do want to add the handcuffs rattling, but I'll do that afterwards. as they get close, because right now it doesn't sound like they're closing. And what we're going to do now is really kind of tie everything in and make it sound a bit more lived in. So back here I've got TV background. What I ended up doing is I got a public domain film, The Brain That Would Not Die. I extracted the audio, adjusted it so it sounded a bit more muffled and coming off of a left side camera, just to make it feel like the house is lived in, because it's a little too quiet right now. So let's bring that in.
Directly to the heart, then massage by hand. I'll handle the brain area.
By yourself?
By myself.
It just makes the house feel more lived in, because there's usually noise in the house. You know, somebody's watching TV or there's something playing on the radio. And I chose that film because it's public domain, and so we don't have to worry about copyright. Next is I really don't like the noise of the room, so I added in an ambient ceiling fan that kind of muffles that out and really sounds a bit more pleasant.
Directly to the heart, then massage by hand. I'll handle the brain area.
Without?
By yourself?
With?
By myself.
Much nicer. And then I also added the last two tracks are basically suburb sounds, birds, people talking, kids playing, stuff like that. And I've got it twice, once at the right level for indoors and the other one for outdoors. So let's turn that back on, and that's all my layers. So let's have a look.
Directly to the heart, then massage by hand. I'll handle the brain area.
By yourself?
By myself.
I still have a section selected. There you go.
Directly to the heart, then massage by hand.
Let's have another look.
I'll handle the brain area.
By yourself?
By myself.
You, sir, are under arrest for violating the civil stalking protection order.
God! God! Police brutality! Police
You ain't
brutality!
seen nothing.
God!
And the nice thing with adding the suburban sounds is it drowned out the director. You can't hear him at all anymore between that and the music, and so I didn't need to go and cut that out. And that's it. That's the scene. So that 45-second scene, 42 seconds, something like that, took me probably an hour and a half, a bit more to do. Trying to time everything, adjusting the balance, adjusting the volume based on indoors, outdoors, where things should be coming from, going through my database of sound effects to find good sounds, going through my music database to find the soundtrack that would work well, extracting the audio out of the public domain film to add as ambience, sitting there and going through all of the film to determine what needed to be added. And as you noticed, I even missed like the handcuffs that needed to be closed off on the stalker's wrist, which I'll be adding a bit afterwards. And that's it. So hopefully you have a better understanding of what's involved in doing Foley as you look at hiring somebody to do Foley work. If you're interested in hiring me to do Foley for your videos or your short film or your feature film, please get in touch and we'll see what we can work out. Have a good day.